Now time for our latest news update. In our first story, more than 200 villages across Ghana and along Ghana's coastline rely on fisheries as their primary source of income. However, Ghana's small pelagic fishery, crucial for food security and livelihood, is on the brink of collapse following decades of overexploitation. The illegal practice of psycho-fishing, the transshipment of fish at sea from industrial trawlers to local canoes, has had a particularly destructive impact on Ghana's small pelagic fisheries. Now, Joy News' Richard Kojonyako went undercover for several weeks in some of these vessels to capture the illegal fishing businesses that are said to have so far been suspended according to law. As the first episode of a two-part series of the documentary titled Psycho, When the Last Fish is Caught.
Meet 38-year-old Nana Kweja. His ancestry straddles many generations of fishermen.
I'm a native of Abanzi, born and bred here. And throughout my life, I have stayed here. I was born into a family whose business is fishing. I saw my grandfather doing fishing with my father, and my father also passing it on. So we had a chance to enroll at the basic school and continue schooling. So that's the difference between myself and my father. But both of us are fishermen, except that I went to school. So I am an educated fisherman.
Fishing has been a reliable source of livelihood for Kweja and his family. But that situation is changing rapidly as the tides and waves that keep the canoes at this landing beach afloat.
The scientific and technical working group has made us to understand that psycho, as it is being practiced now, is the most destructive form of IUU. And that is what is actually driving the collapse of the industry. An analysis of a slab of psycho by the Department of Fisheries and Aquatic Sciences, University of Cape Coast, revealed that over 90% of the catch is juvenile. Now, if you are catching juvenile fish in that quantity, then it means you are hindering the reproductive potential of the resource. If you are catching juvenile fish in that quantity, then where lies the potential of the resource to reproduce? So if you close the sea to allow for reproduction, but then psycho business takes all the juvenile fish out of the sea, it renders that measure ineffective and useless. That is why we are worried that the regulator and the ministry will leave activities of psycho, which is driving the industry down, and rather be busily engaging themselves with measures which are ineffective in the midst of this psycho business. And I think somebody should be able to call the minister to order.
The psycho business, according to the Environmental Justice Foundation, an NGO that has its focus in fishing, dates back to the 1970s when a Japanese fisherman used the term saiti to describe the bad or rubbish fish that their trawlers discarded. But local artisanal fishers here in Ghana, who said the catch was of value, insisted it was psycho, meaning good or useful fish. Subsequently, it developed into an informal trading system where unwanted fish caught by industrial vessels was exchanged at sea for goods such as oranges and water. The practice is prohibited under Ghana's fisheries laws and attracts fines of between $100,000 and $2 million, with a minimum fine increasing to $1 million where juvenile fish is involved or prohibited fishing gear is used.
In 1996, when we hit the peak of small pelagics, we landed 130,000 metric tons, right? So psycho is taking 110 out of the 130 historical maximum. So look at the quantum of fish that we are losing to cycle. And the small pelagics they are catching when we examine the cycle fish tablets. So if you are selling tablets of fish containing 90% juveniles, then you are not fishing in offshore waters, you are fishing in inshore waters.
And wait for the premiere right here on Joy News. Now let's take you to the Upper West region, where the Roads and Highways Minister Kwesi Amoako-Attah has assured the chiefs and people of Lora Dikpe that construction of the 275-meter-long Dikpe Bridge across the Black Volta will start before the close of the year. Now the project, which has been on the drawing board of government when completed, is expected to enhance trade between Ghana and Burkina Faso. Joy News Upper West Regional Correspondent Rafiq Salam joined the Roads and Highways Minister on a tour of ongoing projects in the region and brings us the update.
Roads and Highways Minister Kwesi Amoako-Attah kick-started his day's tour of inspection of roads in the Upper West region under his ministry with a press conference at Wa. He painted a mental picture of the state of roads in the region.
You have 40% of your existing roads considered to be good, working out to 2,299.8 kilometers, and then 28% considered to be poor.
Our contractors will tell you that yes, they are doing their work, but they have not been paid. A particular example I want to give is about the Bayiri in Kajguri, because I was there yesterday. The contractor has abandoned the site for over 6 months. And when you ask them, they will tell you that it's non-payment. And I even saw the community people last week, they mobilized themselves, and they were the ones doing the potholes. So what plans do you have? Contractors who are yet to have your grace.
Now, there is proper management of payments, and payments are always made in arrears. We have identified clearly the sources of funding, and we relate the sources and the funding to the contracts and the awards that we make.
The minister then hit the road, rolling out of town and to the Lora municipality, where he met the paramount chief of the Lora traditional area, Napo Wole Kabo III, and his divisional chiefs before heading to the proposed site for the construction of 275-meter-long bridge across the Black Volta. Deputy Minister of Roads and Highways, a member of Parliament for Lora, Anthony Abaifa Kabo, explained that the people of Lora and the adjoining communities across the Black Volta in Burkina Faso shares common ancestral root, but are separated by the expansion of the Black Volta.
Because of this activity, and there's been a lot of collaboration between the Ghana side and the Burkinabe side. The various assembly members for the two catchment areas have been in touch, and they have been engaging with themselves to ensure that when the project eventually begins, there will be no challenges on both sides of the Ghana side.
Roads and Highways Minister Kwesi Amoako-Attah assured the chiefs and people of the Lora traditional area that work on the bridge across the Black Volta will start before the end of the year.
Your Highness, I want to assure you, we will do everything possible that work, yes, that work will start on this project before the end of the year, because what has been separated for all this long period must reunite.
Though sod is yet to be cut for the project to begin, Napo Wole Kabo III is already speaking about the benefits that the people will derive upon completion of the project.
Well, today is Lora Market. If there was a bridge here, you would have seen the number of people. When we move here, but even if you come, the number of people who have crossed over to attend our market.
Back here in Accra, the law will deal seriously with educational heads if they fail to ensure that all social distancing and hygiene protocols are adhered to as universities open today. Administrative heads, if found culpable, could also face jail time or even pay a fine of some 12,000 Ghana cedis and above. Now, this is according to State Prosecutor Andrews Adogo. Speaking on the show, COVID and the law, Mr. Adogo cautioned that if heads feel they're not ready to reopen, then they shouldn't.
The law says that the ministers in charge or the various agencies which are in charge of such institutions can seek the assistance of the police to ensure that there's compliance with this. That's the first point.
Right.
Now, assuming they do not comply, the EI says that subject to the provisions of Section 6 of the imposition of risk.
Oh, sorry for that mix-up in the voice there because of the distortions. Now, to end the bulletin, Director of Advocacy and Policy Engagement at the Center for Democratic Development says the failure of the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice to create and subsequently apply sanctions to persons who violate laws that guide the conduct of public officers has posed a challenge to the fight against corruption. Now, his comments follow a move by ASEPA to have the Electoral Commission boss removed from office for not declaring the assets 3 months before and after assuming the position of chairperson of the Electoral Commission. Dr. Kwadwo Asante believes public officers are not deterred from violating this provision over the years because SHRAJ has also failed to crack the whip.
Currently, as I have observed and followed very keenly, we seem to have really weakened the whole horizontal accountability structure of our anti-corruption agenda. So typically in a democracy, you would expect that the preventative side, which involves everything from internal audits, procurement supervision, asset declaration, information disclosures, and so on, which is all meant to ensure that there is integrity in public life, that the taxpayers' money is protected, have all really been weakened, and it's because the law that governs these processes are weak, both in terms of some of its design and then, of course, its enforcement, because there's too much discretion around some of those processes. So the SHRAJ examples you give, for example, the Constitution is very clear that you have to declare your assets before you take office. So it says before you take office, and then it says every 4 years, and then when you exit office. So I don't see the ambiguity there. And therefore, if a matter is brought and SHRAJ has to make a determination in terms of what kind of remedial action it has to take, I think you cannot say that, well, in spite of the Constitution, the person has still complied with the law. I think you can say, okay, yes, the person has breached the law, but this is, what we recommend. We just a slap on the wrist, don't do it again, or something like that. That's a different kind of decision. But it's also because SHRAJ has not elaborated through a CI the range of sanctions that should apply in some of these cases. And in some of these cases, it's not just an administrative sanction that will suffice. So suspension, demotion, other types of sanctions that you can apply, sometimes criminal. Since the promulgation of the 1992 Constitution, SHRAJ is yet to elaborate on these sanctions. And as a result, it's left to discretion on what it should do today. And that does not promote equality before the law. It does not promote any deterrence effect or prevention of corrupt acts or any acts that are seen as misbehavior in the public service.
And that's it for the news. But we do have more news as we review the newspapers next. Myself, Mavio Sabuaje. Do stay with us. Today is the birthday, 70 years, of Archbishop Palmer Barkle, the Bishop for the Cape Coast Diocese, and has had a lot of accolades over the world for his good work to humanity. We say happy birthday to you. Also coming from Raymond Akwa, who sent it early dawn to me as well. Happy birthday to you, Auntie Sophie. You live at Kwabenya, and you're also a member of the House of Miracles Ministries International Church, and this is from our own Abla D'Souza, and the message is grow in good health. Well, I'm told that you're watching. Please make sure you keep watching. And watch not only me, but also Mama Viosa Waja, who is here, has had a great time to be away. She looks so refreshed behind the nose marks. How are you?
I'm good. Yeah. How are you?
Yeah, fine.
Yeah.
Yesterday, it was interesting watching the president in the address.
With his 11th address. I had
Yes.
not seen that in a very long while. Also because we're not getting those daily updates that we get regularly on weekdays. You can confirm because you've been on the show. Is that happening? The Tuesday and the Thursday?
Well, we'll see how it goes. Tomorrow...
I am just asking the question.
I'm sure tomorrow we'll get an update. The last week we had...
But let me say thank you to my colleague Gifty Andoapia, who sat in for me whilst I was away for the 3 weeks. Thank you, Gifty. Always such a darling and doing the job in addition to the Pulse. Gifty is on the Pulse later today at 3 p.m. Make a date. But time for us to do the review. Roland Walker.
Yeah, and we've also been joined by Inshira, who will be doing the Daily Guide, the Business and Financial Times, and Business 24 for us.
Okay.
And because of the constraints of time. Okay. Please go ahead with the newspapers you have.
So I've got the Daily Graphic, the Finder, and the Ghanaian Times. Let's start with the Daily Graphic, and it captures what the president said yesterday in his 11th address to the nation on COVID. President assures nation of enhanced protocols, safety measures in place to protect students, wearing of mask now mandatory, police to enforce directive, active COVID-19 cases 7,652. That's where we stand today. But you know, the president said that if you're leaving home today, you have to wear your mask. If you don't have your mask on, the police may arrest you. Now, we're not sure what would happen to you, but that's what he said in his address yesterday. That's the front page of the Daily Graphic newspaper. Also, something that's happening today is the reopening of schools. Government deploys health personnel to institution. We are talking about this particular issue in detail today on our show. So the update as of June 14 in terms of COVID-19 cases 11,964, recovered 4,258, and deaths 54. But the president also did say that we've tested some 254,331. That's the tests that we've conducted, out of which we have close to 12,000 cases now. Let's check out what's in the center spread of the Daily Graphic newspaper before we do the back page. In the center spread, 300 commissioners of oaths sworn in. Pharmaceutical companies threaten to withdraw supplies, complain of non-payments for medicines. And World Blood Donor Day observed as well. On the back page of the paper, Bogatanga Pumakom Road works progresses steadily. Okay, so details of that on the back page of the Daily Graphic newspaper. Roland, shall I do the Finder?
Yes.
All right, let's continue with the Finder. On the front page, closure of 53 fund management firms, 90,000 claims hits, 12.56 billion Ghana cedis. Over 50% of claims validated, modalities for payments out in the coming weeks, according to Reverend Ogbami Tete, who's the boss at the Securities and Exchange Commission. Also, government gives NCCE 50 vehicles and 2.5 million Ghana cedis for public education on COVID-19. Has it come a bit too late? Government distributes, well, that's not part of the headline though, just asking the question. Government distributes PPE to schools ahead of reopening today. Government imports 520 multi-purpose mini tractors for peasant farmers. And that's how it looks like. The Finder. Roland.
Yes, and quickly, we have to do a number of the newspapers we do have here. And as we wait for Inshira to join us, we'll leave out the Daily Guide, the Business and Financial Times, and then Business 24. I'll quickly, we'll do the Daily Statesman. It has on the front page an interesting story that I thought was kind. I know Obi Amwa, Member of Parliament for Ikapim South, will be going for that primaries the next weekend, or this weekend, I should say. He watches us regularly. Wish you all the best, but apparently he has his main opponent on the front page of the Daily Statesman. And there's a caption. It was quite surprising, but it says, Ikapim South parliamentary aspirant wages war against Akufo-Addo's government. And I read down the story, and it's ought to say that, look, even though they vote for the MPP, they haven't had development in the constituency, and he's the man to...
Oh, that's what he's saying?
Yes, and this same story also seemed to get the same attention on the front page of the Custodian newspaper. So I thought it was a bit interesting. Maybe we have to call up Obi Amwa to ask him whether what the man is saying is true.
I thought you call the person making the statement. Wow. Why do you call his competitor?
Because the man is saying that they haven't seen development of the constituency. So
yeah. So how do you call the MP?
So
is he a development agent?
The development done by the MP then will be run by us, and we'll get to know.
But the MP is not in charge of development in the constituency.
Well, the gentleman seems to be.
So I guess that's why they say governments. Okay, but
all right. So our survival still in our hands, and I mean, succinctly, that's the import of the president's speech yesterday. He says, look, because we've been very lackadaisical, irresponsible in adhering to the protocols, for which we'll run by you the latest executive instruments. You'll get to know what the content are. Our main survival is still in our hands, or our survival.
Well, I'm just thinking about this headline, the Ikapim South parliamentary candidate.
Think about it while I do this.
I am thinking about, and I'm thinking that it's tough. Because if you criticize your opponent, it would sound like, and if your opponent is from the majority side and part of the government, obviously, it would sound like you're criticizing the government.
Yeah,
do you get it?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And the story indeed gives contrary facts, and it talks about what has been done. The Kuwait Fund was sourced, and so it led to the construction of the Domi Brekuso Kitasi Road. It goes on and on. So Obi Amwa and the fight against this man. Wow, this weekend we'll bring you all.
How is this an Obi Amwa fight? I'm just. Roland, why are you roping him in?
He's even mentioned in the story. It says Mr. Ofori Jewu is contesting the MPP primaries in the area with Eric Samola and Obi Amwa then Kama, who is also a deputy minister of local government and rural development. Yeah, so. We have President urges greater discipline after easing of COVID-19 restrictions. MPP wants to deny foreigners the right to vote in Ketia. Intensifies campaign against the EC. And then let me do the Daily Dispatch newspaper and the Custodian quickly. So the Daily Dispatch newspaper says the 30-seat MPP won by less than 2,000 votes in 2016. I tell you, if you read the story, you get to know what the 30 seats are. And they're just some won by 41 votes. That's a least, and then the highest was 1,900. That's Fantiakwa North in the Eastern region. The Daily Dispatch is not saying by any means that it means the seat will be lost to the MPP, no, but it's just giving what the analysis. And I love the Daily Dispatch for this. Parliament in danger. MPs with coronavirus still attending Parliament. This was quite surprising. Yeah. We'll have time to talk about it. And then also we have the Custodian, desperate Ikapim South MP aspirant attacks government. So we have an attached picture of the gentleman. Yeah. The story just
why do I feel that this is not fair?
Yeah, the story won't go away. It's on the front page of the Custodian.
I feel that it's not fair.
The managing editor is my good friend, Awudu Muhammad. Good morning to you, bro. It's been a while. Okay, so let's go to Inshira. And Inshira is on stream. We'll do the Daily Guide, Business and Financial Times and Business 24. He's a businessman this morning. Inshira?
Hey there.
Hey, good morning, Roland. How are you?
Charlie, we day top. You look like you didn't sleep
Wonderful.
well.
And Mama, be good to see you back. You've been missed.
Yes. Good to see you too. What have you been drinking this morning? Like you're sounding like you've been awake since 1 a.m.
Well, when you're graced by the Almighty with life, you must be happy. And I'm just excited to start a new week.
Absolutely. Okay, let's see what you've got.
So on the front page of the Business and Financial Times, government procures 520 specialized rice tractors to boost production. And the SEC, that's the Securities and Exchange Commission, in talks with the Finance Ministry to secure comprehensive solution. And this has to do with the financial sector cleanup, which is still ongoing. Quite a lot of validations and things needing to be done. On the front page of the Business 24 newspaper, Q1 GDP for 2020 will be out on Wednesday. Also, West African states seek a common airspace surveillance, and a Chinese vessel fined $1 million for committing the same offense in our waters. Back to you.
Okay. Are you done?
Yeah.
Yes, so those are the two newspapers. I also have the, the two business papers. Then the Daily Guide, front page says, NDC steps up anti-register games. Also, chief praise for Mahama at cemetery, and Zoomlion fights COVID-19 in the Upper West region.
All right. Okay, Mama V, you have
Seems Shatawale has joined the call for 4 more for Nana, also on the front page of the Daily Guide.
Yeah.
And the NLA and GRA hit jackpot. That speaks to a project that the two organizations are involved in to start a lottery game, which is going to be between the National Lottery Authority and the Ghana Revenue Authority.
All right, let's do
back to you.
All right, sure. Let me do the Ghanaian Times. That's the last paper that I have. Front page of the Times. Tertiary institutions reopen today as government airlift distributes PPE to schools nationwide. Universities of Education Cape Coast to undergo fumigation disinfection by Zoomlion. Also, NLA GRA partner to conduct VAT raffle to enhance government revenue mobilization. And former President Mahama urges government to withdraw public university bill, but government disagrees. And the center spread, well, essentially details of the headlines, the stories on the front page. So let's look at the back page. NGO distributes relief items to 1,300 head porters in Accra. Action Aid supports 15,000 households, 15 hospitals against COVID-19. That's how the Ghanaian Times looks like in terms of what they have by way of headlines. Front, back page of the paper. Roland, any more papers?
I think I'm done for now, and so we'll make a pick. My pick will be all the related concerns that have been raised, and the brouhaha following the announcement and the leak in the media that the health minister had COVID and was being treated at the UGMC hospital. And then there was a denial. We had a colleague journalist who had posted on her Facebook page, Ifya Pokuya, that she had had an interaction with the minister. The minister said, well, he was just resting. And UGMC is so beautiful, just like Mervyn Peake Ambassador Hotel. So he was just resting there. And then the president comes in the evening and tells everybody that, look, all the things that we need to do, we need to be very conscious about what the protocols are. And even wishes his appointee, the health minister, speedy recovery. Yeah.
Did we take the matter of the health minister speaking to Ifya Pokuya out of context? Because it didn't say resting. What I read didn't say resting. Later on, I heard a lot of people saying, well, is that a place of rest? The UGMC, I think he said he was, either he didn't have COVID. I'm going to pull the message because I don't want to misquote. So, but I'm not sure there was a resting. So I was wondering, Were there more messages, you know, had she posted something else, somebody had said something else?
Well, it's not enough for us to bring Pokia to be the subject matter. I think the subject matter really, and Inshira will agree on, and I'll ask you, is about public officials who needed to set examples as being in leadership positions, having been affected by a worldwide pandemic, and so needed to set the right sort of examples. And just come in and say, look, we're in this fight together. I have contracted this in the line of duty, and I believe I can be the example everybody needs to be and set themselves for this. Inshira, what do you make of this?
Well, I totally agree with you that leadership must set an example. Now, for me, I'm a little concerned. We haven't done a good job with the whole stigmatization thing. And so quite a lot of people will be worried when and if they do contract the coronavirus. And as a result, it's human nature for people to want to shy away from the spotlight when they have it. But being in a position of leadership means that you set the tone for how things should be done. And if indeed the health minister knew at the time that he was being contacted, and we don't know whether he was indeed contacted, but I don't see why there should have been a denial, only for us to have a 360-degree turn, or U-turn to just admit, and the president should say the way it's. I think that he needs our support right now. The bottom line is that he has it. It is high-profile personality, and that tells us all that Charlie, the thing is not a respecter of persons. And for those people who have been skeptical about whether coronavirus truly does exist and is affecting people in this country, I think it is time for us to now be able to put that behind us. Now, you know that the Secondary Secretary MCE, Mr. KK Sam, did pass away on Friday due to issues with coronavirus. And that is something that we ought to really be wary of, that it is real. And if you have it, there shouldn't be a reason why you don't admit it. It creates problems in the communities. There's some communities where they still don't believe that it exists. And in some communities, they're also stigmatizing people who have it and have recovered. If we can start demonstrating that it's okay to have it, and when you do have it, you will get better, it would help a lot more people to feel confident that if they did catch the coronavirus, touch wood, they will make a full recovery.
Yeah.
Back to you.
I think it's important that we put all this into perspective. Yes, it's true. Mama V, any pick you want to have?
No, I just wanted to talk about, I remember the health minister speaking there was a last press conference on my mind where he was talking so passionately about us not wearing the mask and taking the necessary protocols, where he said he didn't want to die. If you want to die, die alone. Don't go with the rest of us who don't want to get it. It's interesting that he himself caught the disease. But I was thinking that if he did, the president confirmed it yesterday, that he would come out himself and come and say it to us, so that it would serve as a very...
Well, it depends on his current situation. If he's able to, well, I'm sure he will. And then that said also, Mama V, it's important for us to be able to appreciate the fact that, he may have contracted the virus not because of not wearing the mask. It's possible he must have touched something. Sometimes when these things happen, it's not only because somebody did not wear the mask, but it's important. That said, we must continue to wear the mask. I'm alone where I am, but otherwise I would have had my mask on to make sure that, we're not exposing people unduly to the threat of the virus. And we wish him speedy recovery. We need him to get back onto the job. We've seen other leaders around the world having the virus and making full recovery. Justin Trudeau, Prime Minister of Canada. We also saw Boris Johnson, Prime Minister, coming back to run the country. It's important that we remember not everyone who catches the virus is going to die, and that if you do get it and you do what you ought to do, then the chances are you will make a full recovery and get back to your life and your loved ones.
Absolutely. Well, what can I say? There's a story on page 22 of the Daily Graphic newspaper. It's actually covering a number of pages, but it's an outcome of the Joint National Accreditation Board General Legal Counsel monitoring visit to the law faculties, and they give some recommendation. If you're looking for a school to go to, you might want to check out how the General Legal Counsel has rated the various law faculties, and then it will help you make a good pick.
Which one is the highest?
I'm not sure, but they give a detailed account in terms of what they found in their inspections and then the recommendation, what is not right with the faculties and what is right as well.
So you're saying that if you want a faculty to go study law or for a law degree, you have to go inspecting just like they did?
Well,
they should publish the institutions that will get to know as they found out.
Yeah, that's what they've done. It occupies about 3 of the pages.
But which institutions are they?
I've seen, there's the University of Cape Coast, there's the University of Ghana, Central University, Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. There's GIPA, there's all the faculties under them. So for instance, in one of the institutions, they say that they are running another campus in Kumasi, which is not accredited. So these are very detailed findings so that you know where you are, if it's the right place or not. And they give commendation to some of the institutions, not all of the institutions. So some of them are doing some things right, and they talk about that as well.
Because the University of Ghana is the first on that?
Not necessarily. I've seen some commendations, KNUST, GIMPA as well, and then University of Ghana. But then there's something on, I haven't seen any commendation on University of Cape Coast and the Central University, but you've got to read what they're talking about in the newspapers. I'm just saying, that's what caught my attention this morning. I thought I would share.
Yeah, great. Well, we have to wear the marks, and still we have some enforcement in bans of public gatherings and attending some places. We'll keep you apprised. Inshira, anything you want to share with us?
Well, I'm going to take you to the business papers, and there are 2 stories in the Business 24 paper caught my attention. Now, Q1 GDP out on Wednesday, and this will be released by the Ghana Statistical Service on Wednesday. Now, let me give you a little bit of background. Now, of course, when the coronavirus cases hit Ghana, the Minister of Finance did indicate that our previous estimate and projection of about 7.1% growth this year was actually 6.8% is what we projected. The World Bank also seemed to agree with us, because their own projection happened to be in around 6.8%. Now, he did indicate to Parliament that we could be hit, and as a result, we can't expect to be doing that 6.8% growth in the GDP. Mind you, the last GDP value was in the region of about $66 billion. Now we're looking at topping 71 billion in 2020. Unfortunately, that's not going to happen. It's been reviewed very, very, very generously downward to the region of about 2.2, 2.1%. And we hope to see if it does work, because if you recall, for 3 months, the hardest hit industry, or the one that we all know depended heavily on people coming into the country, is the tourism sector. So the hospitality industry has really suffered. Hotels were closed, people have lost their jobs, and all of these things contribute to making an economy grow. Because if you have some money and you go on a weekend to stay at a hotel, guess what? You're going to tip some waiter or some waitress, and they will make some extra money on the day. They can use it on some phone credit, or they can use it to bless somebody else or share. I mean, people make money when people move around. And when you grind everyone to a halt and ask them not to move around, chances are there will be little movement of money. And in other sectors, for example, on telecommunications, the spend has not gone down because we all move a lot of our activities online, which means that that sector may have been doing well in spite of the economic slowdown. And that's largely because we're suddenly now spending a lot more on the sector. But if you would look, the people in, let's just take the tourism value chain. So you have hotels, you have airlines, you have transportation. So the rental vehicles are all parked. They're not moving because people aren't traveling up and down the country. You have farming, food production. The hotels have to buy fresh food to be able to cook. If you recall, about 2 weeks ago, the Ghana National Poultry Farmers Association were complaining because they had more than 500,000 crates of eggs in the Bono region that was not being consumed nor bought by anyone. And that's largely because a lot of the things that would have happened in the sector, bottled water manufacturers, people are not stocking the hotels, people aren't going in there, alcohol price sales are going to go down. It has a complete knock-on effect on a lot of different things. Now, if people are moving up and down to ferry goods to the market to feed that sector, it also means that transportation will be affected. If you will notice, this year, in the last 3 months, we've actually recorded fewer road accidents. It is not surprising that we just started recording a number of road accidents since the easing of the restriction on movement. That tells you that we're getting back there, but it is not, for me, the best index to refer to when it comes to the loss of lives and limbs on our roads because of accidents. But it gives you an indication that there is a certain movement, a certain move towards the normalcy that we had before. So the information will be put out there in the next couple of days, and we can then see whether we're tracking the projections that were done, whether we are doing well towards that conservative 2.1% that we're supposed to be doing. Where with the likes of the Economics Intelligence Unit and the World Bank are all going to be paying close attention to that information to see whether we're able to get there. Now, think about another thing. The dollar is now a 5 Ghana cedis 81 pesos, and that is going up. If you notice that we did have a certain level, I think there was about 5 months of forex cover. But once you have an economic slowdown and a downturn like we had because of the lockdown, all of these things get impacted. And the one thing that suffers the most will be the currency. Now, look also into the future. The FAO has warned that unless governments on the continent take a very solid position and strategize around food production, because we're going to have some level of food security. And that if we don't do that, if we don't improve on how we're trading the food, the nutrition of the people will be compromised. You'll have a food security problem, which is a national security problem. When that happens, you will have inflation being impacted, because once food prices go up, everything else gets affected by that. So we'll be paying attention and see what comes out of that in the next couple of days. The other story I want to bring you is something that's really dear to my heart. I mean, we all like to eat our proteins. I love my fish. A Chinese vessel has been fined $1 million for committing the same offense. And this is the Lurong Yuan Yu 956. That is the name of the vessel. It's a fishing vessel arrested again in our waters for crimes when it was apprehended a year ago. Now, the vessel is operated by a Chinese company, Rongsheng Ocean Fishery Company Limited. And in October 2019, they actually were arrested for fishing in our waters, both Ghana and neighboring Cote d'Ivoire. And the last time they had an out-of-court settlement where they paid 24,000 cedis for the fish on board. This time around, they decided that they will go at it again. Their licenses was renewed, and they went back out there. So I like the fact that we've been able to fine them $1 million, but I think it would be good to see stiffer punishment for those who break the law in our waters. It is a source of livelihood for lots of people, the fisherfolk along the coast.
Absolutely.
If we allow foreigners to mess it up for them, it will have an impact on our own economy.
Sure. We have to quickly look at what's making headlines on MyJoyOnline. We've run out of time. We have to wrap up from there. Let's quickly see what's on myjoyonline.com if we can. Do we still have a bit of time to do that? All right, here we go. On our page, myjoyonline.com, Roland.
Well, we have a number of stories. Our lead story, wearing of face masks mandatory. Offenders will be sanctioned, Akufo-Addo. And then we do have a number of stories. Ghana's COVID-19 case updates. Also, there are public universities need partnership, not a bill. And playback Akufo-Addo's 11th address to the nation on the COVID measures are available on myjournline.com. And of course, that one tragic, as Akufo-Addo, that's the president, also pays tribute to Valiant old colleague, the late Anthony Keke's Sam, who is an MC, somebody we spoke to on the phone regularly on the AM show, and just passed on. May so rest in peace. Yeah, we have a couple of stories more on myjournline.com. That's why we have to take a break. And Mama V. Yes,
stay with us. We've got sports coming your way. It's just in the next couple of days, just on Wednesday, we'll begin to have a feel of, for some of us, our favorite league, really.
The English Premier League.
But there was Real Madrid in action yesterday with no spectators. They had a win. We'll bring you a recap of what happened over the weekend. Benedict is up next with sports.
Welcome to the sports segment. It's a Monday morning. What a weekend it was. Finally, football is back, and we saw action on a pitch in the Spanish La Liga. Copa Italia games were played, Bundesliga matches as well. We'll show you highlights of the matches that we can, and definitely will update you in terms of the results and the league table. But we have to start here on the local scene, and Ghana is still without an AFCON title since 1982, something the current generation have tried to end. Now, one player who came close to helping the country end the long wait for the title is goalkeeper Richard Kingston. Now, Olele, as is affectionately called, played at the 2010 finals, which Ghana lost 1-0 to Egypt in Angola. At 42, he wants to return to the pitch playing active football.
I've stopped playing, but I can come back and play again.
Okay, you can come back and play again.
Yes.
Because you want your son to see you play.
Yes.
Okay. Would it be for a club? Would it be for the national team again? Which is which?
No, for the national team, I would say no.
Okay.
But for even if it is 1 or 2 games, yeah, for my son to see me playing, yeah, but for the club, but for the national team.
All right, so Olele was a guest on the Joy Sports Link over the weekend, and he spent major part of his club career in the English Premier League, playing for Birmingham City, Wigan Athletic, and then Blackpool. Well, with recent transfer talks of Thomas Partey moving from Spanish side Atletico Madrid to the EPL, Kingston is advising Partey to move.
Of course, in football, it's a season.
Okay.
And he has already made his name there.
Okay.
He needs also to go to the toughest league also to play. And I believe he will sell more than in Spain. Partey is young. He's now coming up. So I think going to England is a plus.
It's a plus. So you would have you would love for him to go.
He has to go. He has to go in.
And that is the president in his 11th public address to ordinary Ghanaians. But we know that the content of the speech foremostly did direct that now it is illegal for anyone to leave their home and get into the public space without wearing a mask. But we also do know there's an executive instrument, and the latest we'll share with you based on what the content are, which is going to guide us for the next 1.5 months. But look, we have to comprehensively look at this because all these measures have been introduced, made all the directives that tertiary institutions could now allow their final year student to go back to the classroom. And indeed, a lot of consultation, as the president enumerated, had been undertaken. And the senior minister with that committee had made sure that those consultations with management of various public universities had been made possible. But let's also look at the perspective of the lecturers, the management of the schools, to get to know how ready they are, as we also look forward to other discussions like concerns on the Public Universities Bill. Oh, we have Professor Kwejo Apiejetia. He is a law lecturer and with the University of Ghana, but also speaks for the University of Ghana, UTAG, and he is joining us on stream. Good morning to you, Prof. Can you hear me very well? Okay, I think you have to unmute your sound. And then Isaac J. Hyde is NUC's president, and they take care of the affairs of students, especially at the tertiary level. Isaac, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can, Roland.
Okay.
Good morning.
Okay, Prof, can you hear me?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, great. So our discussion, as we also started, is in twofold. We'll start with all this about how the campuses are ready, and then ultimately get to what the concerns are on the Public Universities Bill. But we know that we have a lot of consultations. How deeply have you also been affected by those consultations for the universities to resume? Let me start with you, Prof.
The consultations have largely involved management at a higher level. However, we have gotten feedback and the steps that management has taken to ensure a smooth return to campus for the university final year students to complete their lectures and to do their exit exams. The arrangement we had before the president's directive came that students had to return to campus was that we'll complete lectures online and then we will proceed to write exams online. Lecturers were given various options and were given the discretion to apply which one in consultation with our students. So different modalities were applied in the teaching as well as in the exam formats that we have applied so far. Now, for University of Ghana, last Monday, as a week today, exams started and it is proceeding smoothly. And so the directive that came from the university is that this format will continue. However, the university also indicated, based on concerns received from students, that some of them don't have access to the internet, or they may not have a laptop or a smartphone to connect with Zoom or Sakai or any of the platforms made available to the lecturers to teach the students. And so the university proposed that those students should indicate that they have not benefited from the online teaching, and there will be arrangements will be made for them to come to campus to do 3 weeks of lectures so that they'll be able to catch up with their colleagues who did the online training or teaching. And then they'll have the opportunity to write the exams on the campus. So basically, with the most recent directive that came from the university management, the plan is that these are the students who are likely to appear or to return to campus this week, while the online examinations continue for those who are able to avail themselves of that opportunity. So far that is where we are.
How does it take care of concerns that you, as the lecturers that do the interfacing with the students?
Well, we've had a number of concerns raised from the students, and we have tried to accommodate them as much as possible. Of course, some of them are beyond the lecturers. For example, some are complaining that they don't have, or they are not able to use their data that was given them by the university. But for the students who have concerns about whether they don't have a smartphone and so on, some of us went to the basic level to use WhatsApp as a means of teaching them. And so we try to adapt as much as possible to meet their concerns and to ensure that lectures will proceed and end in a manner that will be satisfactory to as many of them as possible.
And Isaac Hyde, if you look at the way the modalities were and the structure of the distancing and the protocols were, how do the students, based on your interactions with your membership, within the various campuses tend to feel about what the measures are and their return to the classroom, at least at the final year?
I think that largely the students are fine. The students are fine, except to also say that goes into compliance because hello, can you hear me?
Yes, please, Isaac. Please, you can go ahead. Isaac Hyde is the president of NUCS, yes.
Yeah, so as I was saying, we are highly spirited. Everybody is fine and hopeful of a conducive atmosphere, except that the concerns are also there. And so we are very much interested in the PPEs and other materials like the Veronica buckets and other things that's provided on the campuses. But largely everybody is hopeful that everything will be fine.
There's a considerable aspect about concerns raised on the health of the students as they make entry. What has been agreed with the management of the various tertiary institutions as they make entry? That whether they'll be tested or not, or in terms of the protocols of screening, so to speak.
Right. So prior to our last engagement with the president and then subsequently our press conference and our recommendation, which so far appear to have been taken into consideration before the reopening, there were a number of things that we had initially called for. At this stage, I know that measures have been put in place for every student to be given at least 3 notes. The hand sanitizer things are equally put in place on every individual. We couldn't come into a conclusion because we also need to look at the reality. When we sat down with the stakeholders, we realized that between the first time that we are now somewhere in March, so today, we've not tested more than 350,000. And as I speak to you, students in the universities alone, we have about 400, the final year students about 100. It's quite enough to say that everybody should be tested. And the assurances we have is that, yes, over time, this thing may be considered or may be done. But in the meantime, yes, we are going to have the thermometer guns and other things. And then, of course, constant monitoring to ensure that at least if somebody shows any signs and symptoms, we can easily pick up that person from the masses. But as much as possible, we also have assurances that the protocols are going to be observed, i.e. the social distancing, the reducing the number of students in the class. And of course, I mean, if classes are not necessary, there will not be lectures for some of these courses.
And we've deployed our correspondents across the various campuses of some of the notable universities so that they'll bring us a report as to what the atmosphere is or what the sight and sounds will be. When we get them, we'll bring them on stream. But also joining us is Professor Charles Marfo. He is president, the University Teachers Association of Ghana, as the national president. And thank you for joining us, Professor Marfo.
Thank you.
I know for where you are, and that's the UCC, the discussions at the high level have also focused on how the students will be largely protected. What happens to the lecturers?
Okay, thank you, sir. I'm a KNUST, and we have protocols as the president suggested, right? And so management is following up with the directives given by the state, and that is the Ministry of Health and the other analogous institutions. And so basically, the WHO protocols are what is going to be adhered to. And so over the last week, because students are coming today, I've seen some of these protocols being put in place. So largely that is what it is. I mean, we are also hoping that because we are a higher institution, put to adhere to the instructions, hoping that they will not endanger themselves and the election community. And so presently, basically, that is what we've done.
Professor Appiah-Gyekye, if you look at the discussions that have been had with you lot, the lecturers, would you say that it comprehensively looks at what the needed protocols and guidelines should be, and protecting all beyond just the lecturers and the students, but also other academic staff of the universities?
Well, there's a saying that the sweetness of the pudding is in the eating. On the face of it, things look fine, but it is up to the implementation that we see if there are any gaps or loopholes. As it stands now, it is not only the concerns of students that have been taken into account, but of lecturers as well. And so we are hoping that things will go according to plan. We are very much concerned about our students. They need to finish their exams, and for example, at the School of Law, they need to write the exams to go to the Ghana School of Law to do their professional law program. So it is very hectic for us, but we are trying to do our best to meet their needs and their concerns. And so with the structures that the University of Ghana has put into place, which largely meet our needs and our concerns, because the university is equally concerned about the well-being of the lecturers. We believe that things will work out fine, but I guess the implementation will tell if there are any gaps that will need to be dealt with.
An important aspect of all that needs to be done, Professor Marfo, is to ensure that perhaps there's some level of an intent to meet you halfway because of the risk you are taking. This period that you're going back to school as a lecturer, do you consider it a risk activity you're undertaking, or is just part of the normal processes of your academic work?
Roland, that is a very big question. Really, I mean, for us, I mean, since this even COVID-19 started, most of us have been to school because, you know, we've been doing the online teaching and all that. And so if it is we are in a risky business, then we have already been in it. I really don't think any member of us is going to perhaps ask for any, you know, as you said, motivation or anything. As Prof. Abidjan said, we are more concerned about our students, that they will be able to come to school and finish their exams, and their interest, that they will not be infected with this disease. And so we are, the same way we think about that, about them, we are also going to put in place, you know, measures so that we will come out on tape. And for the fact that we are working well, if some authority is going to appreciate it and think that, well, teachers perhaps need some motivation, so be it. But I really don't, that is not our primary objective. We have always been in the business of teaching. We love doing that. And we are going to see to it that that job is done. The good thing about most of the bigger universities is that most of the students, in fact, at KNUST, the LSAT, for example, wrote to the university management that they don't think it is entirely good for all of them to come to school. And so most of our people, hello, are you okay?
Yes, we're okay. Please go ahead.
So, yes, so most of the students really are not there. So we are thinking of being able to manage it properly, because here in West we only have the medical students and the pharmacy and I think veterinary. I mean, those people that will need to go to the lab and also do kind of hands-on duties. And so, yeah, we are set. As Prof said, we just need to be careful and see to it that everything is under control.
So it's no risky job for you, Professor Itia?
Certainly it involves some risks, but comparatively it is not as serious compared to our frontline workers in the hospitals. And secondly, the fact that it is sort of phased, so that we only have final year students now. So we think that we can manage them. They also understand the situation. So if we all follow the protocols, I think we can manage that. So it is not a risk that should be of concern to us lecturers.
NUGS, the NUGS president and Mr. Hyde, if you take a look at what has transpired elsewhere in the world, there seems to be some level of protection for students in some universities where maybe they have screens, etc., in front of them if they have to sit. What have been the simulations or protocols that you think that your students have been taken through or are apprised of in the first place?
At this stage, I think that we are dealing with the realities of our country, and then yes, in fact, a lot is going on at other places. For now, the best sort of education that we can give to our people is to sensitize them, for them to really understand the realities of this disease. And so I know that most of the schools have put in place measures that as their students come in, you are going to be taken through some education. They have also instituted internal mechanisms to periodically be, going around to ensure that students are not converging and are obeying some of these internal protocols. That aside, the best thing that we can have is the individual to actually respect the fact that, this is about me, the fact that I need to observe these protocols for my own good. In any case, we are going to be on campus for less than 6 weeks. Just about 6 weeks. And so if you go in too hard on yourself, you might end up taking the disease back home. And so first of all, we are doing a lot of the sensitizations. The institutions are equally doing same. Social media is also very much inundated with a lot of this information. But the Ghana Education Service, then again, has not stopped with what it intends to do in terms of making sure that at every point in time, the periodical buckets and other materials have content. So it's one thing having some of these things, some of the stands there, and having some of these things plays advantage points. But for what good would it be if you put the bucket and there's no water in it, or at some point in time, the sanitizer is finished and another? That's what we are very much interested in. And so we shall equally be going around and be ensuring that all these things are being observed. We can go the extreme of demanding some of these things, but we're also looking at the realities. It appears that some of the demand, the countries are to look at making good of what is available.
Yeah. Well, let's go to the campus of UCC. That's the University of Cape Coast. And it's where Richard Kojo-Nyarko is joining us live. Good morning to you, Richard.
Good morning, Roland.
Yeah, and you set off very early in the morning. What can you tell us have been your observations so far, either picked up by your own eyes or the lenses of your camera or your shooting device?
Well, so life is gradually returning to normal here at the University of Cape Coast. The students have started trickling in. I'm standing in front of the Balfour Hall, and then I can see 3 students who are seated under some canopy the hall has erected, and so they are going to take them through some necessary protocols before they are even allowed access into the hall. As you can also see from where I'm standing, the security is at post, and then they have a thermometer gun. They want to take care of every student one after the other. The university has indicated that 2 students to a room. Hitherto it was 4, it was 6, and some rooms had to take 8. But the university says that because of the social distancing and the other protocols that they need to observe, they are going to have 2 of the students in the room. They've also indicated that they are not going to have church services and other social gathering here on campus because they want to ensure that the right things are done. All the lectures are going to be done at the large lecture theaters at the University of Cape Coast. So they are going to ensure that there is some restriction of movement of students. And just as I indicated when I spoke with the PRO, the Director of Public Relations of the university, they say that they are not going to allow students to hop from one hall to the other. And so they are also going to ensure that they accommodate all final year students on the University of Cape Coast, their halls of residence. And so as they come, they will take them through the necessary orientation before they are allowed access into the halls of residence.
I know that you've been having the interactions, as already mentioned, with the authorities of the university. How many students are being captured in this re-entry or reopening of school, so to speak?
So they are expecting about 3,000 students who are final years to be back on campus. They were also made adequate provisions. So at the entrance here, we have a standpipe there, and then we have the necessary washing item there for all of them. Before you gain entry into the hall, you wash your hands and the other thing. So the school actually is looking at a maximum of about 3,000 students. There are some who stay outside the university halls. They call them diaspora, but the university says that they would want to take all of them in to ensure that they can monitor the activities here properly.
Okay, but just be on stream. We'll get back to you. Professor Mafu, how many students and lecturers on one side, students on one side, lecturers on one side, totally in Ghana will be captured in this reopening? Professor, okay, we've lost Professor Mafu there. Professor Appiah-Gyekye, do you know how many University of Ghana students will return back to class?
Unfortunately, I don't have that information, but I assume it will be around the UCC figure.
And when it comes to the needed protocols, have you seen on campus the sites that we have the Veronica buckets, the other facilities that will be needed to make sure we obey the protocols all in place or being deployed?
Yes. Before the directive came for students to return to campus, that's the final year students, any visit to the campus indicates that these protocols were in place. If you, for example, if you want to go to the BAM library, which has been open as if everything is normal, they have instituted a number of measures, Veronica buckets, the spacing, how many people can be in a particular room, and so on. So it has been very strict. If you go to every facility on the campus where at least I went to, you have buckets, Veronica buckets in place. You have certain information or directions placed on the notice board for you to read before you access the facility. So in terms of putting the right structures in place while the students were not there, I think the university did as much as possible to meet the protocol requirements. But what I don't know yet is what extra measures they are put in place to meet the students coming to campus. Certainly there has to be a reinforcement and additional measures taken, but I don't know about that yet.
Richard, if it comes to having the student arrive on campus, what is the protocol you've seen so far, making entry into the University of Cape Coast gates? Richard? Oh, well, you seem to have lost Richard. Now,
hello.
Yeah, Richard.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm asking you, what's the protocol making entry into the campus of the University of Cape Coast?
Well, so right in front of the Valco Hall, for instance, there are 3 students that are seated. They are waiting for the orientation to be done. So it is after the orientation has been done, then you come to this washing item that is placed here. So you have to wash your hands thoroughly under running water before you go to the security gate, and then they will use the thermometer gun to check your temperature before you are allowed access into the University Hall of Residence. So that is the protocol they have put in place. And as the University Director of Public Affairs indicated, they are going to review the measures as they go, and then as they see some progress, they are going to review some of the protocols they have put in place. They say that there is no cause for alarm because they are not going to allow any sort of crowd to gather at a particular point in time. That's why they are not going to allow even a student move from one hall to the other unless with some express permission or with some significant reason of a sort. Otherwise, they are not going to allow.
But I know that there are entry gates into the University of Cape Coast. At least there's a first one that I know, and there's a second one. Of course, we have some of the unapproved routes. No protocols there. You have to get onto main campus before.
Yes, you have to get into the main campus before, because the university is surrounded by some communities, and so they all use the same route we are talking about. So there is the East Gate and then there is the West Gate, and so all of these gates are used by non-students as well. So it's not only students and lecturers that use the same gate, but other communities that have sprung around the university, they also use that, so they cannot use or observe any kind of protocol. Besides that, they also drive in and drive out, so they cannot ask them to get down, wash their hands before they get into the university.
Well, we'll make you stay on, but assign you to go have some interaction with some students the next time we're on you. So try and get some students to speak to very soon. But let's do some round of questioning. And Mr. Hyde, if we have to say that this has been a successful exercise prior to the reopening, how would you rate it from a scale of 0 to 10? Mr. Hyde, do we have Isaac?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, please, Isaac. Okay. So
yes, I'm saying that let's say between 6 and 7.
And why is that?
Okay, 6 in the sense that, for instance, before the reopening, we made a number of recommendations to the president, and generally all was factored in the decision-making process. Except that, I mean, we would have wished that all things being equal, perhaps every student is tested before we go in there. That way we'll be very much sure. Then again, we want to wait to see as much as possible that by the time, let's say, going into the week, it's not just about students being there, but ensuring that one, compliance is very much ongoing. The fact that some of these things that have been provided are very much supplied at every point in time. And so for now, my assessment is based on what has been done at the moment. We want to give that form of assessment, general assessment, maybe after a week, and we can say that, I mean, there's a conscious effort in ensuring that the students are protected. For now, my 6 to 7 has to do with the effort that has been put in place in ensuring that some of these protocols are in place before the students return to school. And as you saw at the University of Cape Coast, you realize that these were some of the assurances that our partners on the ground are giving us, the fact that we're going to ensure that the rooms, in fact, where the students are going to sleep are being spaced. In fact, when you go to University of Ghana, no visitors are allowed in the various halls. So even if you are a resident of, let's say, Legon Hall, you cannot go to Kwafo Hall that you are going to visit anybody. And so largely we've seen some good works on the ground, but it doesn't end there. We would have to give our honest assessment of the system after a week, where we've seen that, okay, beyond what was put in place before students coming to school, there's also a conscious effort to ensure that all these things are in place at every point in time to safeguard the interests of the students.
Well, my next round of question will go to all of you, the same question. Professor Appiah-Gyetua, if you look at what you were doing prior to now, doing this virtual learning, virtual teaching, virtual lecturing, etc., couldn't we have used it to complete the semester?
Of course, that would have been possible. And in fact, that is the direction that University of Ghana was heading towards. So I cannot say for management, but personally, the news of reopening came as a bit of surprise. But in any case, like I said, the University of Ghana had in mind to accommodate the interests of students who complain about not having access to the virtual learning that was ongoing. But at least from my little corner at the School of Law, the student numbers were not very large. I don't know about for the other departments and colleges. So at a certain point in time, we were still going to give them that opportunity. But as it stands now, the majority, the overwhelming majority, in my estimation, are doing the exams. So the number of them who would not venture to go to the campus at all, because they will be able to write and finish the exams, some even within this week. And all that will be left is arranging for graduation, which we are also thinking of doing that virtually. So that is where things stand. But I think basically is to accommodate those who couldn't have access to the online teaching, that we made it available to the students.
And this is peculiar to just the University of Ghana, you say?
I will say so, yes.
So it means that everybody or anyone who got access to the virtual learning platforms will be excluded from any reopening?
Yes, because they've started doing the exams online, various means. Some are doing take-home, some are doing it directly online and responding to the questions, and they are given a time frame to complete, and so on. Some are writing papers, which will also be graded. So these are ongoing, and they are going very well. And so for some of them, they will not be on campus at all. They are going to finish everything through these virtual means.
So in a situation where we have a group of students undertaking certain courses, and we have a percentage that maybe did not participate very well or comprehensively with the virtual learning platforms, what happens?
They will have the opportunity to come to campus to take part in face-to-face learning. And so in that situation, these students would have already indicated their readiness or their decision to the university already, prior to the announcement by the president that they have not benefited from the online platform, and therefore they want to avail themselves of the opportunity to be present on the campus, to go through the face-to-face learning that we have been the norm on the campus. So in that situation, then we'll follow up with the normal exams we have been doing for them. That is a physical sitting in the lecture room for 3 hours doing exams, and then the scripts being collected to be marked and so on.
Yeah. Okay. We'll get back to you. Let's go to the University of Cape Coast campus, and it's where Richard Kojo-Nyakon is expected to speak to a number of the students. Richard, if you have them, please let's get that interaction ongoing.
Okay, Roland. So thank you very much. Currently, there are 3 students that have arrived here. They are seated under the canopy. They are waiting for the orientation to be done. Let me just speak with this young man. Good morning. How are you? Where are you coming from? From Up. Yeah. Okay, so what are your expectations as school has been open?
I'm expecting to see each individual is being checked thoroughly before entering. And even though we have been going to provide with the protocols, the university has to make sure we are going to use it when we are to use it.
Yeah. So did you bring enough face masks and
about 3 with hand sanitizers and those hand wash.
How did you feel when you were told to return to school?
Like because we are not using the e-learning effectively. I was expectant we are being able to come to school to finish and go as when we are to finish.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Let me speak with this young lady. Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay. Welcome.
Welcome.
So where are you coming from?
I'm coming from Accra, Wager.
Oh, okay. I presume you set up very early for you to have arrived on campus at this time.
Yes, please.
Oh, okay. What are your expectations as school has reopened?
I'm just expecting the management should be cool with this, and also I want the COVID-19 protocols to ensure that the social distance, they are observing everything, so that they will avoid the spread of the COVID-19. Just pray they should ensure that you are safe. Yeah, they should provide us with everything I think we need. Hello?
Would you have wished that you stayed home, continue with the online learning, and then possibly a subsequent online examination?
Okay, the online, it wasn't all the lecturers that were using it. It was just a few. And some of the topics we need the lecturer to explain to us, but some gave us the slides. Yeah, and it was difficult for us. Yeah, I think we coming is okay. So we come and finish well and can go back home and we know, yes, we are done. Yeah.
So as you were stepping out, what did your parents tell you?
They just told me to be safe. I'm alone. I shouldn't go and visit others. From lectures, I should come back to my room. I should make sure I protect myself, wear my nose mask, have my hand sanitizers, and wash my hands here.
Are you happy with what has been put in place ever since you arrived on campus?
Okay, I've just seen the things, and I think it's okay. And the social distance. This is
okay. So let me speak with finally this young man. He traveled all the way from the Savannah region of Ghana. You traveled all the way from that place. I presume you set up very early. You set up last night?
Yes, I started by 6. I left.
Okay, so which course do you pursue here?
Bachelor of Arts, Education in Arts, English specifically.
Okay, so what are your expectations as you return to campus?
Well, I expected nothing but that the protocols and all the social distances should be observed.
Okay,
so that we also stay there can be COVID-free.
All right, so thank you. Roland, so you heard me speak with some of the students who have just arrived on the campuses of the University of Cape Coast to restart academic activities. The last one I spoke to is a visually impaired who hails from the Savannah region of Ghana, and then he's here very early in the morning. He was the second to arrive here in the morning. So I presume that the students are poised to come and study, and they feel confident that the measures that have been put in place by the university will help them to study very well on campus and to stay safe whilst on campus.
Lines, and the phone lines will be on your screens. They are, let me just run this by you, or the phone lines by you, 03022111691 or 03022111692. Again, let me tell you the phone lines, 03022111691, 03022111691. And as we prepare for this, again, we have to make this announcement that one of the best high life singers we've produced right here in our country, Nana Tufo, has passed on. We're just getting the news from our correspondent in the news wires. We're confirming. We've subsequently decided to make sure that we bring that to you. We will do as much as possible, get in touch with his management if there's any, and then we'll get to have a comprehensive discussion on his contribution to high life and the music industry in Ghana. But I already do have from Dunkwa, Alfred. Alfred, good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, are you a tertiary education student?
Yes, please. I'm in the University of Cape Coast.
Well, it's from your campus that Richie Kojonaku is reporting from. Are you already on campus?
No, I'm in level 300, but I was considering certain adjustments to what you were asking J-High.
Which is?
With UCC, we have 2 points of entry. That is the official one. And then looking at how it is, we could have put buses in place because most students are coming from their houses in buses. So probably we could have segregated these buses, and then we could have made 2 or 3 buses be at these 2 official points. So when students take their taxis, get to the point of entry, then they alight, they go through all the safety protocols, and then they are made to be in the bus that will carry them to their various halls. This will help to stop the spread, because as compared to letting the students come from town, you never know whatever protocol the person has been through. So I think that is what could have been done.
We'll keep that in mind. We'll ask Mr. Hyde whether all students will be on campus or from town. I thought some of them said they were going to be accommodated on campus. Frank from Adan. Frank? Well, Frank is off. We have another. Frank, are you still online? No. Well, we have Francis. Francis is calling us from Obuasi. Francis.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, your contribution to the discussion.
My problem was all of them, I mean, all the universities, will they get a common entry? I mean, so far as we open, we don't know where somebody...
Well, we've had a truncation of the phone line there. We'll try to re-establish the line for you. But again, if you want to call us, easy does it. The number is on screen, 0302211691 or 0302211692, and let us hear from you. Now, Professor Etia, if students want to come on campus, but originally they were out of campus students, what happens to them before they get a position or the chance to be on campus? Prof? Professor Etia?
Sorry.
Yeah, don't worry.
Hello.
We're still with you. Yeah, and we know you're still with us. But let's say students usually are the in, out one that you have on the University of Ghana campus, but they are final year students, so they have to be in. What happens? What's the policy? What were you told?
I must confess, I don't know the position of management on this, but I'm assuming that they should be accommodated in view of the fact that as much as possible, the university wants to be able to monitor the movement of students and to ensure that they are observing the protocols and to avoid any likely infections. So it would be advisable. Now, probably I'm assuming that the university has already taken the step of ensuring that those non-residential students are accommodated. And I think there will be enough space for them since they are all final year students.
But as a lecturer, how do you feel having students come out of campus and sit in your lecture hall?
That has been the norm. If they are out of campus, it means they still come to lectures. So we wouldn't feel any difference. It's only in the halls of residence that they will notice that there are some new faces, if you like, having been included in the halls of residence.
Now let's go to Enyinem, and it's where we have Romeo. Romeo, good morning to you. Romeo. Well, it looks like the phone lines are not helping out this morning, but again, the phone lines are active. If you're able to get through, it will be good for the discussion. Let us know what you think. We're having a comprehensive discussion. Mr. Hyde, the students who are off campus, what's the arrangement? Or ideally, we're off campus. Final year supposed to be out of campus. So what do you do? Have you been able to negotiate for all of them to stay on campus? Mr. Hyde, let's go to Oscar from Rio.
Yes. Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, Oscar, just hold on to my question, and then let me take Oscar. Oscar from Rio. So, good morning.
Good morning. I'm asking which measures have been put in the diaspora, in the private hostels, because in the University of Cape Coast, most of the final year students stay in the diaspora, the private hostels. They will not come out to the hall to observe the protocols and other things put in place in the halls. Rather, they stay in their private hostels in the diaspora before coming to the lecture hall every morning or any time there's lecture.
And you're asking this because you think that because they don't observe the protocols rightly, they are at risk of infecting others?
Measures put in place at the halls, the various traditional halls, but those in their private hostels in the diaspora, what went on there or goes on there without any protocol or any care before in the daytime they come to the lecture hall. So they can go on not observing the measures there while in the diaspora, in their private hostels and other places. Then in the morning or during the lecture hour, they come there and spread the virus or infection. That's what I mean. So these measures are being put in place to check the activities there.
Well, and you are our last caller, and that's Oscar from Rio. So, but it's where we have to transition and look at the next discussion briefly before we go for a break, and that's the Public Universities Bill. But Mr. Hyde,
Right.
Yeah, I asked the question. There are some students originally who are in, out, in terms of the rationing or the way they've been allotted the spaces to be on campus. So what happens to them because they're in final year and they have to return to school? Have you been able to negotiate something?
Well, the situation is school-specific. For instance, if you go to University of Ghana, they have given a directive where students who are outside and who want to join their colleagues on campus would have to pay 5 cedis a day to use the hostel facilities. It's also because there's a lot of space available. I mean, in other institutions too, if you negotiate on your own, there are spaces for everyone. But I must also say that it seems this conversation we are having is much centered on the public universities. But at the crux of this particular issue with e-learning was the private universities, because a number of them did not have the learning management systems available. And for that matter, it is the private universities who are very much going to school. And a number of the private universities are those who are in the majority who are going back to campus. And most of them do not have hostels on campus. A lot of them rely on apartments and private, hostels across board within their vicinity. And so sometimes it's difficult when you are negotiating with private hostels. And so we've left it to management of the various universities so that the SRCs will engage their management to intervene in some of these situations. But some institutions have been very flexible. Like I said, the University of Ghana has given their students a chance. If you want to come to campus, you just have to get in touch with the hall, and then you pay 5 cedis a day and you use the facility.
That's been easy. Well, thank you, Mr. Hyde, for helping us with this discussion. Comprehensive. We'll again get back to you when it comes to the related issues about how the protocols and the re-entry for at least last year students in the various universities across board, public and private, are related as we monitor the situation of reopening. But we still do have Professor Appiagyei Etia. He is not only a law lecturer, but also speaks for the University of Ghana chapter of the University Teachers Association. Now, they are among a number of stakeholders who do not agree with the structure of a bill, the Public Universities Bill, that's before Parliament's Education Committee. We'll try as much as possible within the discussion, get some members or the head of that committee on stream to also help us with the discussion. But Professor Appiagyei Etia, the last person to add his voice to the call is the flag bearer of the NDC, former President John Dramani Mahama. And it looks like there definitely is a problem with the bill based on your perspective. Can you again just do a recap of where you have key disagreements with the bill in its current form or structure?
Yeah, thank you. We have a number of disagreements with the bill. So our position is an outright rejection of the bill. And we go on to expose the reason or the underlying grounds for that decision on 3 grounds. First, that it is unconstitutional, and secondly, it is unnecessary, and thirdly, application of the bill, if it's passed into law, will create more problems than they seem to solve. The unconstitutionality is founded on Article 21(1)(b) of the Constitution, which first of all recognizes academic freedom, which is in our constitutional history has never happened. And therefore it means that we need to apply the academic freedom in a context that we see it as a public good that the university should enjoy. And we also reference Article 68(1)(b), which enjoins the president or prevents the president from serving as chancellor of the university. But the bill allows the president to come through the back door to be able to appoint a chancellor for the universities. But more fundamentally, the governing council of the universities. We have a number of concerns. First of all, the president having the power to declare a state of emergency on the campus and end up saying that the councils can no more exist. He puts up an interim council to be run for a stated period. We don't know how this state of emergency is defined, or on what condition we can have a state of emergency. Whether simply where students go on demonstration, we can call a state of emergency, as happened on the campus of KNUST about 2 years ago. Then the composition of the council. We have currently about 21 members of council, but the government is whittling it down to 13. And most of this number are government appointees. and the quorum for a meeting is 7. So it means that these government appointees on their own can organize a meeting and make critical decisions for the council. There are a number of key actors on the council whose presence are vital for decision-making to ensure that the university runs according to the way we want it. They have been taken out, and so that is also a problem. The chairman of council is supposed to be appointed according to Article 1953 of the Constitution, which that power is reserved for the governing council to make. But the president, by way of Article 70, according to the bill, is being given that power. That power in Article 70 is not with reference to University Council. It is with reference to the National Commission on Higher Education, which we already have. And so it beats our mind for the bill to try to do that kind of jump or transition from a situation where a council, a body which is set up to perform a different function in trying to relate the relationship between the government and the university, is now being used in place of the governing council, and which therefore gives the government the power to appoint as many members into it, as well as appoint the chairman of the council, which are all powers reserved for the university. Then we also have issue with the admission process. Again, the government would want to replace that system and introduce a system where the whole admission process is centralized. Of course, we have challenges with a situation where a student has to apply to 4 or 5 universities to be able to get his or her place of choice. But there are alternative arrangements that can be made to ensure that this problem is resolved. It is not through a process where the system is controlled by the government. You already know the problems it has had with the senior secondary school replacement system. And other countries have tried this, just as Nigeria. It has led to corruption and protocol means of admission, which is problematic. And then the bill is also saying that the basis for its coming into place is because there are financial mismanagement or misappropriation on the campuses. However, that is not supported by the facts. The facts on the ground indicate that the universities are one of the most efficiently run institutions in terms of financial management. And so we don't know where the basis for the government to come up with that statement and to say that the universities have problems with management. Of course, we are not saying that universities are perfect institutions, but once in a while, issues come up with financial management. But the government has a role to play in this, in that the Minister of Finance, Minister of Education have left some responsibilities undone, which would have contributed to the situation we are dealing with now. So we are saying that it is not a new bill that will solve the problem. There are enough laws already in place which need to be applied. Then the fact that there's one bill or one law that is going to regulate all universities, we have a major problem with that. The universities are supposed to have diversity. There's a need for competition. That results in creativity, and that results in innovation, and ensure that the universities are able to set themselves apart to promote competition. When you are vying for grants and so on, it depends on the quality of your grant application, which is supported by the research foundation that a particular university has. So each one has its own strengths that needs to be harnessed to promote the well-being of university education, for research and so on within the country. If we all go by a one-size-fits-all approach, it is going to really create some challenges for the universities in their running. And not only the act itself, they're also talking about harmonized statutes. And that is also another area of difficulty, because harmonized statutes spell out the details of how a university should be run on a daily basis. And if you are to have a situation where there are harmonized statutes, again, there's going to be major problems there. Wow. Then it comes to the powers that the Minister of Education has, the power to make directives, which is also problematic because it will mean that somebody sitting from the outside, of course, the minister is not entirely unconnected to higher education, but for him to make directives which will ensure, suppose that we are supposed to apply or abide by these directives is seriously an intrusion and an invasion of the university's private space.
Okay.
So at the end of the day, we have a situation where the institutional autonomy is compromised, the academic freedom of lecturers and students are affected. Issues of promotion also be affected because promotions to associate professorship and higher goes to the university council. If there's somebody who is not in the good books of the government, that would be an avenue where the person can be prevented from moving ahead, moving on in his career development.
And you don't want that to happen, right? Well, let's go to the campus of Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, Kumasi. And it's where Erastus Asare-Donkor is live. Erastus, what are the scenes you've seen so far? We're told that life is supposed to return to normalcy, well, the new normal on campus. How is it like?
Well, I can tell you that campus life will not be returning to normalcy. We'll not have it as it used to be. If you look at how this place is looking, it looks deserted. It's the same thing around campus. There's nobody around, except to say that behind the scenes, arrangements have been made for some 1,500 students to come back on campus and complete their school. Let me say that out of 13,000 final year students of the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, only 1,500 are being asked to come back. And these are mainly medical students, students from optometry, students from the veterinary medicine and the like, those that deal with medicine that are coming back. Behind me here is the SRC hostel, and that is where all of them are being camped. The medical students, some of them have hostels outside campus, precisely at the Komfo Anokye Teaching Hospital, and so they are also going to lodge there. But here, I'm told that the protocol is that 1 student per room, and previously it was 4 students per room, but now each student to his or her own room. Now they have some COVID-19 health protocols that are being observed strictly, and if you can see the students who are coming out, you're supposed to wash your hands. Nose mask is compulsory before you enter or leave the premises, and they have sanitizers in there. And before you go in there as well, you need to go through screening. Your temperature is taken, your details are taken before you can enter or be given a room. Let me speak with one student who is yet to be registered. He has been here for some time. I saw him sitting here. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
What's your name?
My name is Owusu Felix Ejapon.
So which year is that?
Final year, CT year.
And which course?
Veterinary medicine.
Veterinary medicine. So you are yet to register?
Yes.
Why are you still waiting?
Okay, I just came in this morning, and I'm waiting to be screened by the medical personnel before I can get a chance to enter, and I'll be allocated a room. So that's why I'm waiting.
So they are not in yet?
They are not in. That's why I'm
Have
waiting.
you been told what you'll be taken through in the form of screening before you enter?
Okay, so far what I know is that they are going to take our temperature, then they will take details about where we are coming from, and they also take contacts about our family, so that in case of anything they can trace back. I think so far that's what I know. That they are going
As a student of medicine, that is not new to you, is it?
Yes, it's not new to me.
How are you feeling with all this, the reopening and all these protocols in the midst of studying? How are you coping?
It's really uncomfortable, very uncomfortable, but there's nothing we can do. And what I will say is, for me, I'm happy that we are back, because final year, I didn't know what to do if they should have cancelled the semester. So I'm happy that the government has allowed us to come and complete. It's not easy. Spending 6 years here and at the end, you don't know what you're doing to graduate is something else. So I'm happy that we are back. Just that the life on campus has changed. It's not like the way it used to be. Now restrictions everywhere. One person, one room, even friends or mates coming, we are not supposed to be together. So campus life has become something else. Yes.
Are there some of the restrictions that you find quite scary? You think that, no, this one is too much?
Oh, okay. It's like the wearing of the mask and the washing your hands. Anytime you come out, you need to do the washing. When you are entering, you need to do the washing, and you should be in your mask all the time on campus here, unless you are on your room, you are in your room or you are on your bed. Otherwise, you need to be in this mask, and it's not comfortable at all. But
so, as a veterinary student, you're going to go out for clinicals.
Yes.
And any protocols in that direction?
Okay. Yes. Our rooms too, our classrooms and complexes too. There are sanitizers, places that we are supposed to wash our hands. Even there are places that sometimes you need to take a bath before you come out. So all these protocols are there that we are supposed to follow before you enter a room or you come out of it.
Thank you very much. And he's a student who has just come in. He's offering veterinary medicine. And so I'm telling you that it's all for the medical students, the veterinary medicine students, optometry, and other areas that deal directly with human-centered programs. And so, as you can see over there, it's a strict COVID-19 health protocols they are observing. Outside on the larger part of the campus, it's empty. There is nobody there except to see one or two people crisscrossing here. But there are also students who have come in here to pick their luggage because they do not know when they will be coming back to complete their continuing students. So you can see them sitting under the tree there. They are waiting to go through the protocol, go back into their room in there and pick their luggages and go out. So I'm also being told that the foreign students who will be coming just about 2 miles from here, we have the Brunei hostel where the foreign students are staying. Some of them did not go back at all. They've been here. And there are some who also went to their various countries. In all, we have 400 foreign students. Authorities are telling me that they've organized screening programs for them, compulsory tests, compulsory quarantine for 2 weeks before they are admitted back into campus. So basically, this is how campus of the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology looks like as school reopens today.
Well, Erastus Asari Donkor, comprehensive coverage, and that interaction also gives us a vivid description of what the atmosphere is, and I know definitely that the students will be feeling the pinch. And these are live pictures we're bringing to you from the campus of the University of Science and Technology, KNUST, as we call it. We went to the University of Ghana, subsequently to the University of Cape Coast. We will bring you this and more. Professor Appiah-Gyekye, thank you for joining us, and I hope that you did enjoy the discussion as you educated us on all the related matters.
Yes,
okay, enjoy your day, sir. And subsequently, not only on the show, but also at 10 and 12 and related bulletins right here on the channel today, we will be focusing on this and tell you what the needed information should be. But in the meantime, you know that the COVID-19 cases have been inching up, not slowly, but exponentially, for reasons that only those at the helm of affairs could better describe. But if we have to pick a lot of lessons from the President's 11th address, that's the last address to the public, we'll get to know that these measures, he said, will help us subsequently. Well, up next, we're having an interaction with the Director General, the Ghana Health Service, right here on the show. We're taking a break. We'll be right back.
Well, thanks for still staying with us here on the AM show. Well, we had the president speak yesterday about the coronavirus, his 11th address. We know that the numbers are still going up. Let's have a conversation with the Director General of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Patrick Kuma Abuaje, who's joining us via phone right now. Good morning to you, Doc. Thank you so much for your time.
Good morning.
All right, Doc, is there something else that's happening in terms of the coronavirus? Is there, particularly because we're not either wearing masks or doing, following the necessary protocols, is that why the cases are still going up from where you sit?
Yeah, thank you. The epidemic, I would say, is not over. I mean, we're still going to have cases. Obviously, adhering to the protocols of wearing masks, hand washing, and then social distancing is very crucial to reducing that. You and I know that adherence is not as good as we expect, especially in the areas where the cases are so much like Accra, Kumasi, Sekeni, Takoradi, and a bit of the Cape Coast or Western Central region. These are worrying signs. But what we are also noticing is that there are flare-ups of, I would say, institutional flare-ups, which add to the number. I can give you an example. We can have one case of a place in one region where you add close to 100 cases from one institution alone because of a little outbreak, which is quite common in this outbreak because of the rate of effectivity. If there's any breakdown on it, you can have a flare-up in those places. But those ones are very easy to isolate and contain. And so that is so those also contribute to the high numbers. And so if you take some of those 80s and 50 in some mines and all those things, you still will see that in terms of the general spread, it may not be as alarming as we are thinking of. So an adherence to the protocol in institutions and in places is very crucial if you are going to see a decline. And we are not going to see a decline in the number of cases, it's a cumulative case. Everyone that comes, even if it stops having, that number will remain static. It's not going to come down. So, but the most important are the active cases, those we have been able to treat, and those who have recovered, and those, unfortunately, we have lost. And so that tells you these are the numbers we are currently dealing with. We still have a significant number of regions where the spread is virtually either stopped or under great control. In the last few weeks. So those are, we have more of Ashanti, Greater Accra, Western and Central, and of late, one or two districts in Eastern region where we've had some cases. Otherwise, that's how the numbers, that's the real explanation of the numbers. Some of the surges are institutional screening, high-risk group screening, where you can find an outbreak. You might have a positive case, you follow up to the contact, and you see that a whole workplace is infected, and that will add to the numbers.
So, Doc, we've had some scientists say that the virus has mutated. It is changing. Is it how we're viewing it also in Ghana? Is it changing?
Well, it changes, but we don't have any evidence that we have seen any mutation yet. Maybe in Oguchi we'll do some of the sequencing again for us to see whether there's been any change. But we didn't have one. We have several strains in the country. So from what Noguchi, there was just one strain, a few strains that had, common, but a few changes, the China one. And we had all models that were coming in. So I believe that that's what will happen.
Is there something more that as citizens we need to do? Because if we're washing our hands, we're wearing the mask, we're doing all the necessary things that we must do, and we're still recording cases, do you think there's a lot more that we perhaps are not paying attention to?
Those three things work if you adhere to them. And you and I know that adherence, you just have to stand in front of the Joy FM studio and watch people pass, and you see the level of adherence, both in social distance, wearing of mask, and it's those ones you have to and so the adherence is not good, and that's what we continue to encourage people that we need to learn, adapt our life to be able to do other things. Because we cannot do everything because of the virus. So we need to protect ourselves, protect everybody else, so that other things that we normally do can happen.
How helpful would the mandatory wearing of mask that comes with sanctions if you don't comply? How would that help? How would that help the fight?
It will help. It will ensure some increased level of adherence. And especially, there are 4 regions where we have the cases in percent. So if you're able to contain, you're able to reduce them in those places. But those people, when they travel to other regions where there are no cases, there's no point for them to go. All the ones we have been seeing in the Bono East, Ahafo, are people who have traveled from or been relocated from places like Accra and Kumasi to go there when they are the ones that stay for. So that adherence to be very good. I mean, you are able to protect yourself and others a few days. Even if you get killed and you don't pass it on. And that's what has helped in many countries where they made the wearing of masks compulsory, especially parts of Europe. And we have seen the numbers. So it's something that I think the media will support. But it's not just the punitive action, but it's something that will protect all of us.
Doc, last week, some of my colleagues followed the AMA as they went to bury some 4 persons who had died because of COVID-19. There are family members with them who raised the concern that they had not been contacted. If this was a family member who died of COVID, then they expected that somebody from the Ghana Health Service would have done a follow-up and done the necessary checks. I'm not sure if this has come to your attention, your reaction to that?
I thought it was very strange that you have a case who was the contact, who walked to a hospital or who was brought in by an ambulance, having picked from their home and come to the facility and dies, and the family will say they don't know or they've not been informed. I don't think so. Maybe they're supposed to engage with the environmental group to agree on the date, and that's what we have done, of supervised burial. And that's if there was any miscommunication. That's quite unfortunate. But I'll speak to the case management team to find out what really happened. Is it everybody who didn't know or somebody in the family didn't know? That may be someone speaking for themselves, but there's no way you are going to do that. It's a family that buys the coffee. I don't know how that will happen, that we don't know who buried them.
Okay, so that would be strange that the family would say that they have not been contacted and tested. There haven't been any follow-ups in that regard.
If they did that, want to do their partner, all we do is have them get them to go and do a supervised burial for them. The rest of it is for the family.
Okay. There was also a bit about costs. What is the family paying exactly? Are they paying for, you mentioned the coffin. Beyond that, are they paying for the how the body is preserved at the mortuary as well?
I believe so. I don't think it's any more tricky, but I mean, crazy because the environment that we'll have to manage. I mean, just like all those things, based usually are the instructions of the family, the way they want to do it. And then all they do is to do it that way. The only thing that you don't touch is they who are trained to manage their body and do whatever the family wants.
And Dr. Aboagye, the AMA environmental health workers have also complained of lack of logistics to work with. For instance, we've seen the vehicle that they transported the bodies to bury, and that's a pickup. They've asked for more logistics. Is this something that you're open to addressing?
Well, I think there are 2 agencies that are doing national response. We will engage and see how we can also assist. I think environmental health is a different agency. It is an all-sector response. So we can talk about, but I don't think that's the responsibility of Ghana Health Service to resolve this. But we can look at the issue and then probably the ministry or the powers that be would see how those resources, those gaps are blocked.
Dr. Aboagye, finally on this matter, I mean, I went out on Saturday, drove through the Dome markets, went to quite a number of communities, and you can actually count the number of people who wear the mask. Very few people. In some areas, it's as if there's nothing happening. There's no coronavirus. I wonder if you see what some of us see when we walk around and how that makes you feel.
Yeah, we see that. That's why we continue working and ensuring that people adhere, that people see that there's a real risk out there to take themselves. I think it's something we want to do. All right. So thank you very much.
We thank you for your time as well. That's the Director General of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Patrick Kuma Aboagye, there helping us with this conversation on coronavirus. Well, some people have speculated that if we continue to go the way that we're going and if the restrictions are eased further, we are likely to see massive spike in cases in the next 2 to 3 weeks. Well, you know what you have to do, you know what you must do. You have to take your health into your own hands, and you have to wear the mask and take all the necessary precautions. That's the new cases. This is what is latest on the Ghana Health Service website. Confirmed cases 11,964. Out of that number, we know that the active cases are 7,652. We've got 4,258 recoveries, 54 deaths. And the new cases, this was updated yesterday, 247. So that's where we stand today. Active cases, 7,652. We've heard the president in his address yesterday talk about the fact that it is mandatory and it will come with some sanctions. Well, we contacted the police. They are not speaking yet because we wanted to know exactly how they're going to take that forward in terms of what the president said. But we do not know yet. As and when we have more, we will share with you. But it shouldn't be because there will be sanctions. That's why you have to wear the mask. It's for your own safety. Please wear the mask. Stay with us. You're watching The M Show.